Emulate the taste of like non-chicken nuggets. So, these nuggets are made from chicken, but they're made to emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Dope.
Oh, that's much better.
Edit all the blather out of your videos because my time is very precious.
Oh, that's fire.
Make it less teal and more
Cerulean? Sure.
Replace your background with something more fun? The cold void of outer space.
Let's boost that sound quality. Emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Dope.
It needs more style. It needs more clips, more gifs, more. Well, I might have made it too gnarly.
Hello, welcome to SquadCast 101. Learn the basics. I'm Christiana, community manager here at Descript, and I'm joined by Rock. Rock is amazing in a million ways. He is a co-founder of SquadCast. Now he's on the Descript finance team. And he's just an awesome guy. Rock, how are you doing?
Oh, thank you. I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be doing one of these with you. I think we've done one together, but never just you and I. So just the two of us. I'm ready for it.
Oh, that singing. I love it. We should just do the whole thing in sing-song voice.
That we do not want, but maybe you have a line or two.
Yeah, no, I know. I was thinking the same thing. I'm so glad to be collaborating with you on this.
Awesome.
And as usual, we have the amazing Marcelo in the chat helping out today. Thank you, Marcelo. And we have a crowd of amazing Descript and SquadCast and future Descript and SquadCast users. So welcome, everybody. Tell us where you're tuning in from. Rock, you're in the Bay.
Oakland, California. That's right.
That's right. And I'm in Portland, Oregon. I see we've got some other Portland folks in the chat. Let's go. But yeah, we're gonna cover SquadCast today, and we're gonna talk about get it down to the basics and give you a demo. So you might be here saying, I don't even know what remote recording is. You're in the right place. We will give you the basics today. So before we jump right in, please continue letting us know what you make with Descript or whatever you're using right now in SquadCast, and tell us where you're tuning in from. And I'm going to share some slides so y'all know what to expect. Okay, cool. So this is the agenda for today. We're going to cover remote recording. What is it? Why you should be using it? What is SquadCast? We'll briefly touch on connecting your Descript and SquadCast accounts because, spoiler alert, you probably know this, but in case you don't, SquadCast and Descript are now all under one team. So we'll talk about how to set up that connection. And then Rock will give us a nice walkthrough of SquadCast, all the basics, and then we'll hit some Q&A. If I can click my slides, there we go. So if you're in Crowdcast, there's a Q&A section there on the right side of your screen. Use that for your support type questions, product questions, and Marcelo, aforementioned support hero, will be answering those for you. And then use the chat for reactions, chatting, commentary, etc. We're also streaming to YouTube right now, and we can see your chat too. So send your comments and questions in there, and we will be hooking you up in there as well. If we freeze on Crowdcast, refresh your browser. And as I said, this is also streaming to YouTube. So if you're having any trouble, jump over to YouTube and watch there instead. And we'll throw that link in the chat for you. This session is recorded. All of our live events are recorded for your replaying pleasure. And they all live on our YouTube under the live events playlist. But to make it easy, we will send you this link or this replay in a follow-up email. If you want some more Descript help, it's help.descript.com. That's our help center. It's amazing. That's also where you can get in touch with support. And if you're looking for SquadCast specific questions, you would head over to the SquadCast support site, and that's support.squadcast.fm. We'll throw all of that in the chat. And thank you, Marcelo, for prompting me. And then lastly, join our Discord for community support. There are over 17,000 creators in our Discord community, which is awesome. You can scan that QR code to join and join in on the fun. We have a SquadCast channel in there for remote recording questions. We we've got an AI channel, we've got an everything channel. So please join us over there. And then, oops, I think I skipped. There we go. And then just to make sure, I always try to hit the gift before we get going. If you're new or you're on the free plan currently, we want to make sure you get a chance to try all of this good stuff, including SquadCast. So get a month of free Descript Pro on us with podcast 30. That's your promo code, but I also have a QR code for you to make it easy. So you scan that and that will get you that deal. And I've done a lot of talking. And don't worry, don't scramble. I'll make sure to bring this up again at the end. But Rock, maybe we can just jump into kind of talking about all this stuff a little bit more. So everybody sort of understands the gist here. So could you just give us like a quick premise? You used to work just at SquadCast. I used to work just at Descript. And now suddenly we're on the same team. Can you just kind of explain for our audience what that means for them?
Absolutely. Yeah, this has been a really big story for us. I mean, not just for this year, but this is we started the relationship with the Descript team in 2018 and always
Mhm.
felt like there was a way to partner and work together and collaborate just because of the way the products work, and kind of complement each other. But then
Yeah.
also just learning to get to know the people behind the product, the team behind Descript. We just felt like we meshed really well with you all. So excited to be here. So now, as of I think we announced it in August, excuse me.
Mhm.
Descript and SquadCast have combined, have merged. Descript acquired SquadCast, and really what the benefits for customers, so Descript customers, SquadCast customers, or new folks, is
Yeah.
that with a Descript subscription, you get access to both products. So you really don't even need to have a subscription to SquadCast anymore.
Right.
Even if you don't use Descript, getting a Descript subscription will get you access to SquadCast in addition to whatever subscription you sign up for on Descript. And yeah, you get access to two world-class platforms that have been doing what they do since 2018, 2017, something like
Yep.
that. And yeah, now we've combined forces and still got a lot of work to do to really realize the full vision and potential here of integrating SquadCast to make it more seamless into Descript. But for now,
Yeah.
we're just figuring out a way to integrate the two platforms together, make them play nicely, and help empower creators' workflows.
So well said, as usual, Rock. Thank you for
Ah,
that background. And yeah, I'm just so glad we are we're on the same team now. And yeah, so Rock said it. Basically, this means that you now get remote recording for free in Descript, which is just fantastic. And speaking of remote recording, Rock, maybe you can just, for those of us that are new to this concept, what is remote recording?
absolutely. Fortunately, it's something that is less foreign to folks than when we first started SquadCast, but
Yeah.
it has been around for a while, and it's really just a way to record content when folks are not in the same room. So if you want to have a conversation with somebody or interview somebody that's in New York, but you're in California or, somewhere all around the world, in Jakarta or something, like now
Right.
you can do that. But really what we wanted and felt like was missing was being able to do that at a high quality studio quality that you not necessarily have it exactly the same as what you would get in person, but almost to the point where the end user isn't distracted, isn't they're not irritated by like poor quality in the audio or video and stuff like that. And so yeah,
Right.
back in the day when we first started, it was really just Skype that people were using. That was the main one. And Skype was a great tool back in the day, and things have
Mhm.
evolved. Now Zoom, I think, is more of what people think of when it comes to like remote conversations, remote collaboration, when it comes to like audio and video. Um, and yeah, it's just having the benefits of being able to create and record content when you can't be in the same room as somebody else.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, you talked about Skype. Marcelo said in the chat, shout out Skype. But I know from just us thinking about this, a lot of folks are using Zoom for this right now if they're not using something like SquadCast. could you touch on a little bit like what the difference is between a dedicated tool like SquadCast versus something like Zoom?
Absolutely. So I'm a big fan of Zoom. I mean, what they're doing is not easy, and we know that with our
Totally.
experience at SquadCast. But I think their focus is not necessarily for creators or specifically recording that content in high quality. Now, you can absolutely record on Zoom, and you can configure it to get higher quality than what the default settings provide you. The big
Yep.
differentiator with SquadCast is that we are quality by default. So a lot of the ways that we record, upload, preserve your content is all within mind to provide the highest source quality possible. So, and you really don't have to adjust any settings for yourself or for any other team members. And that's really what I think the pain point that we're addressing here is just quality by default for everybody and making it super easy to look and sound amazing when recording your content remotely.
Absolutely. Yep. So well said once again. Amazing. Cool. Yeah, because I know that's a question that comes up for folks quite a bit. So I thought it would be easy or best to hit that early.
Heck yeah.
And we touched on this early. So earlier you just had kind of explained what SquadCast is, and what the deal is with SquadCast and Descript joining forces. We covered that, but if you're just joining us, you now get remote recording for free in Descript. And if you were already using SquadCast, you now get the whole editing suite of Descript for most likely a cheaper monthly subscription than you were paying before, which is awesome. But oh, I lost my train of thought. What was my next question? Basically, what was it? Oh, okay. I think we were going to talk about connecting accounts more. Okay, I found it. We're
There we
back.
go.
There's just so much to cover here.
I feel you.
But you talked about this a little bit. Like this is all going to be integrated pretty seamlessly under one Descript umbrella.
Right.
But right now, folks do need to have two separate, a SquadCast account and a Descript account. Could you kind of talk about like those phases right now, just a little bit, touch on like what people should know in regard to that?
Absolutely. So yeah, both platforms make it relatively easy to figure out how to link the two, especially if you already have accounts to both platforms. Both platforms will have some type of, like for SquadCast, it's a banner saying, hey, connect your account to Descript. Whenever you are on Descript and want to open a remote recording project, there is a button to sync it up with SquadCast, or link it up with SquadCast rather. But also, if you don't have an account to one of those platforms, it's also really easy and baked into the workflow to create your account. The one big thing that you want to keep in mind, I would say, is just making sure that when you are linking your account, that your SquadCast organization and your Descript drive, that you're linking the two that you intend to link up. Because if you are, and most people I don't think have to worry about this, but there are some folks that might have multiple drives or be a part of
Right.
multiple organizations on SquadCast. And drive and organization are synonymous essentially, but that's just the terminologies that the two products are using currently. It's part of the
Totally.
integration, is kind of uniform that and just
Yep.
make it more consistent. But yeah, I mean, it's and then also, if you're not the drive owner of the Descript drive that you're trying to link, it will prevent you from completing the linkage. So you'll need to have the drive owner initiate it. Now, for most people, you probably are the drive owner, but there are probably some examples where you are not, and so that would be a time where you need to get like your owner, your admin, to help with that. Those are the two of the big points there. But yeah, it's pretty easy to follow. We
Yep.
have some great documentation on it, but in a lot of ways, I don't think you need it because it's pretty clear on the apps what to do. And you just want to make sure at the very
Right.
end that you redeem that offer. And then we do all the work on the back end to make sure that the subscription is updated properly, that you're not charged for 2 subscriptions, because that's the big seller here. I still can't believe that it's free with a
I
subscription to
know.
Descript. It's so cool.
A lot of folks in like Discord will join and be like, just to make sure I have this right. Like, is this really the thing? And yeah, it's like the best. I don't know how many times in our careers we'll be able to say like, yes, actually it is free. Um, this whole thing that you used to pay for separately is now free. Um, so yeah, let's dive into connecting accounts a little bit more. But really quick, I'm just checking out the chat and I see that some folks are having some trouble with Crowdcast. Jump over to YouTube and you should have a better streaming experience there. Marcelo will throw that into the chat. But yeah, sorry folks that we're having some technical issues. But thank God for YouTube, am I right? Cool. Okay, well, let me share some slides really quick that we can just use to go through connecting your account. So yeah, just to review, Descript users have SquadCast for free now, and SquadCasters now only have to pay for Descript. Sorry, I'm really beating a dead horse saying that a million times, but just, too good to be true. So better say it 3 times. If you're like, I haven't connected my account yet, that sounds like a lot. From personal experience, it really took me probably 2 or 3 minutes. But if you there is full instructions on help.descript.com that you can follow if you're a Descript user new to SquadCast or a SquadCaster new to Descript. You can screenshot this if you're going from this looks like it's the SquadCast into Descript route. But yeah, I just followed the steps on help.descript.com and it was easy peasy. Let me see if I can throw that on the screen. Yep, there it is, help.descript.com, and just search Descript and SquadCast and it'll come up. But we also did an event showing off how to do this. I know that's Marcelo's picture, but Rock actually stepped in, and it was on Halloween. So me and Ariel were wearing interesting hairstyles. But go check out that recording. I went from Descript to SquadCast and walked through how to connect your accounts. Ariel went from SquadCast to Descript. And it was a very fun event. And we talked about the benefits of SquadCast and remote recording. And showed you how to do it. So I would recommend just get yourself set up and walk through with me in that recording. And yeah, that should do it for you. I think that's all on account connection. Yeah, let me see if there's any questions on that in our chat here. Looks like we're pretty good on the connection front. So all good to keep chugging along here. We've got some questions that maybe I could throw at you before we jump into the demo because they're pretty more broader, Rock.
Cool. Let's do it.
Sweet, cool. So we always get this one, so figure we'll hit it. Could you talk about the differences between SquadCast and Riverside? And if you don't know what Riverside is, folks, that's just another remote recording tool option out there. Rock, would you mind talking us through that?
Absolutely. So, Riverside is what we call at SquadCast a more direct competitor. We do see ourselves as competing with Zoom, but it's, again, not as direct because their focus is different. But a lot of podcasters, video content creators do use that platform. And but most of the time what happens is folks know that there's limitations. And so whenever they want to look to level up their quality, they go and look for something like SquadCast and Riverside as a direct competitor. I would say the main difference is the way that our recording and uploading technology works. Now, it does sound the same on the surface, especially since we use similar terminology. We've coined the term progressive upload and are very proud to be innovators of not just that particular feature, but also just a lot of things within the remote recording category. We started. I mean, even stuff as boring as like how we set up the pricing. Others followed suit, but the way our progressive upload works, it's patented, and I think really where we shine because you get the benefits of recording locally, which I'll explain a little bit more. But just for the TLDR, it's really the way that we ensure the highest sound and video quality possible in those recordings without being dependent or reliant on the quality of the internet connection. So that's like the first big differentiator. I think
Yeah.
the way it like works and functions in real life, it's a lot faster, it's a lot smoother, less waiting time on all individuals. Now you do need to hit stop on your recording.
Mm,
But once you hit stop, you really don't need to have your guest wait around for very long, or even wait around very long as like one of the production team members, or if you're the host or whatever. It's super fast, especially with audio files. It's like within seconds, if not instant.
yeah.
Video files are a little bit larger, a lot more going on under the hood. So you may have to wait, especially because if you're recording something for like an hour plus, you're dealing with a big MP4 file with wave audio muxed in. But still, it's as fast as anything that is available, and I think a really good experience that for us, it's like, wow, that's amazing, and that's what we hear from customers. Additionally, another benefit that we've been working on is ensuring that whenever you do pull those tracks into editing software like Descript, which we hope you're using, when you're trying to edit these separate tracks, I should back up. So SquadCast, as a default, records everyone in separate tracks. So if Christiana and I were
Right.
recording a session on SquadCast, two files would be provided, one with just her, one with just me. And the benefits of that is you can edit those tracks independently, and then you combine them in the post-production phase into one final single file that's ready to publish. However, one of the downsides of like more direct competitors is that sometimes the timing of those individual tracks can get out of alignment, which is a bit of a pain in the butt for editors. Now it's totally fixable, but usually not something that folks want to spend time on. You're fixing something that we feel shouldn't even be there to begin with. And so we thankfully, our second patent is around removing the occurrence of what we call audio drift into your audio tracks. Now I can go down a grocery list of all the other things that we're super proud of at SquadCast that we've innovated, and I think it just goes to show that we are folks that have been um, really deep rooted in solving this problem since
Mhm.
2016. So I do think we have some expertise in this space and are very intimate with uh, what it's like to be a creator creating content remotely. I mean, we use SquadCast to record our show as well. So
Right.
we know what it's like to be behind the mic and behind the camera. And so I think, that just goes to show in the product and why we've been at it for almost 7 years now.
Totally. Yes. Thank you so much for walking us through that. That makes tons of sense. And yeah, as I always say, try different things out and see what you like. But yeah, we do have this sort of very unique offering that now all of these things are
Well,
together.
I'm glad you said that. That is where I should also enter, is because I think one of the things that was getting challenging for us at SquadCast to differentiate is like Riverside was doing a good job of continuing to add editing features. Now, when I would pry and dig a little deeper and asked, "Are you using it? Do you like it?" The answer was not as positive as you might think,
Right.
but
Totally.
it definitely made us at SquadCast feel this pull for adding some type of editing features or experience to our platform. But to be quite honest, we really didn't want to, because we felt like we
Yeah.
couldn't have done it better than someone like Descript was doing it. So now to be able to offer not just editing features, but the best kind of editing features that we think is available is has been a total game changer for that conversation.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, the same is true for Descript, I think, on our end. We had we had recording features in Descript, but we were like, "Oh, remote recording." I mean, I'm not on the engineering team, but that's a whole other can of worms, and it was so cool that we got to, and we had partnered before on some different integrations and things, and yeah, just sort of a match made in heaven to combine forces. And yeah, so awesome. And there's a question in the chat here that I feel like is good to hit on,
Mm.
and it's let me pull it up on screen here. So how does SquadCast complement Descript? Which is a great point. We haven't really said how these two tools now like actually come together in someone's workflow. So could you just briefly touch on like what that could look like for a podcaster or a video creator?
Right. So SquadCast is in the middle of the content production workflow. We're like, I like to think of where all the magic happens, but there's a lot of magic that happens on Descript too. So maybe I shouldn't say that. But SquadCast is where you record your content, especially if you're going to be remote. You can use it solo, but the main use case and the value proposition that we see with SquadCast is when you're recording with 2 or more people who are in different locations, and you really care about the audio and or video quality of those recordings. Now, with this integration with Descript, you can easily send your files over to Descript that were recorded in SquadCast through a button that's called Edit in Descript. I'll show you it when we do the demo walkthrough, but that's essentially how it works. And then instead of having to download a file from SquadCast and then upload it to Descript, and that can take a lot of time, and that definitely can take you out of flow. I know it does when I'm doing it. So to
Yeah.
be able to send it over to Descript with the click of a button, jump on over to Descript, and it's there for you to start editing. I think it's really awesome. It's just a safe, secure way of having your workflow, and yeah, it just addresses so many pain points. But again, you're still kind of jumping in between 2 products. So we do think that the eventual goal line here is to not have you just switch between products, but it all happening in one, but still getting the benefits of both of those superpowers.
Absolutely. Awesome. Cool. Great question. From the chat. And yeah, lots of awesome questions in the chat. Marcelo is in there holding it down as usual, but I'm also looking at those. And at the end of this event, I'll pull some up for Rock to answer live during Q&A. But I feel like maybe we should jump on into your demo here, Rock, if that sounds good.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Cool.
All right. Let me get my share screen on.
Cool.
I think this is the right one. Nope. Oh my gosh, I should have closed all these windows. 1 second, sorry.
Oh, no, please take your time. While you're getting that set up, I'll just flag folks that we do remote recording office hours. So if you're like, I'm new to this, I actually want to chat with the Descript SquadCast team. So I'm all set up for success. Join us in our Discord community. Those are on Thursdays at noon PT, 3 p.m. ET. So join us in Discord for those. And perfect timing.
Cool.
Cool.
So we seeing my screen here?
I can see it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so this is the dashboard on SquadCast. So whenever you log into SquadCast or switch over to a remote recording project, if you're starting from Descript, this is where you will end up each time. It's kind of like the central hub where all of your recording files are, your recording sessions, your shows. I'll go through the hierarchy of how things work at SquadCast. It's kind of similar to Descript, but again, different word terminology. And then I just wanted to call attention to the banner that we described earlier for how to link accounts.
Right.
Pretty obvious and persistent. So just hit that big blue button, and you should get on your way to being able to easily link your accounts. But for now, I'm just going to close that. And again, back to the dashboard. So this is the dashboard on SquadCast. If you're new to SquadCast, it'll be a little bit more blank than what you're seeing here, but this is a good example for a dashboard that has a lot of activity that's been going on in it. So like I mentioned earlier, also the way that Descript has calls a drive, we call an organization at SquadCast. So every account needs to have an organization. That's kind of 2 synonyms as well. But within your account, or your organization rather, you can create different shows. And so why we did this is we were finding out that oftentimes podcasters or YouTubers had multiple shows or projects going on. And so this was a good
Right.
way to keep them separate and organized, especially if you have different team members that need to access those shows, but maybe don't need to access all of them. You have the ability as the organization owner or admin to control that and invite folks accordingly. And so
Cool.
these different shows are what's on my left panel here. So Between Two Mics, that's the show, the remote recording SquadCast podcast that my co-founder Zach and I were working on for a few years. And then I have some different workspaces set up here. Like the one I like to play around with is what I call Lake Merritt Studios, because that's where I'm based, Lake Merritt in the beautiful Oakland, California. So yeah, I like to work out of there. Oh, and this thing just loves popping up, doesn't it?
They're like, come on, Rock. Have you
Yeah,
heard?
you want to do it. Yes, I do. So within your shows, in which you can easily add by clicking Add Show here. And again, it's different workspaces. You don't have to create multiple shows. You can just work off of one if you want.
Right.
Really, it's really flexible and up to you. But within a show, we have the ability to set different sessions. So the intention was like different interviews or different episodes. Or different projects within a show.
Got it.
And so I have that separated here by a video session. I also have an audio session. So on SquadCast, you do have the ability to select if it's a audio only session or a video recording and audio recording session. Now, the reason why you may want to do this is that SquadCast has a video element for the conversation. We've always felt like it was beneficial that even though we started off focusing on podcasters and recording audio only content, we figured that folks would still want to see each other, that it would help build chemistry, rapport, especially if you're just meeting this person for the first time. You can also like take body language cues and stuff like that.
Totally.
But it is less intense on your network. You'll have it takes up less bandwidth to record in audio only. So if you're only recording in audio, definitely recommend that. But if you do want to record in video, make sure that you have it selected accordingly to record in video and audio as well.
Cool.
A few other things. So within each session, you have your recording files stored. That's what's here on the right panel. It defaults to showing your most recent recordings first. Every recording is grouped into a take. So a take is whenever you start and stop the recording button on SquadCast, and we'll get into the recording session here in just a second so you can see what I mean. But yeah, every session is grouped into takes. And like I said earlier as well, that as a default, SquadCast records in separate or individual ISO tracks is a few terms that you'll hear. And again, that's by default. You don't have to change any of your settings like you do in Zoom. That's a huge benefit of like, not only in Zoom can you get those features, but you have to change it not just on your settings, but also on every other participant within the recording session. And even then, it's still not going to look and sound as good as what you're going to get on SquadCast. So those are the recording files. I hit all that. Are we ready to just jump into a session?
Let's do it.
All right. So we are going to start this session. So now I have myself joined as a guest. So forgive me if there's any like internet hiccups or whatever. I'm pushing it to the limits. Not only are we working on our streaming platform for this presentation, but I got 2 sessions in SquadCast going on. And I must say, do as I say, not as I do. So there's a few examples of me doing that. One, we always recommend wearing wired headphones versus Bluetooth. I'm a big fan of Bluetooth, but if you're recording a session on SquadCast or just recording any content in general, it's generally a best practice to get wired headphones for a few reasons. But in addition to that, like we really stress having SquadCast as the focused and clicked tab whenever you're recording. Just because it gets the most like power, the most internet juice, if you will, the most network juice is being dedicated to whatever is the focus tab of your browser or your or what you have clicked.
Yep.
Unfortunately, one of the things we figured out is like browsers like Chrome, they'll throttle down other tabs that you may have open, but not selected or focused is like what we call it. So again, I'm breaking a lot of rules here, but I still think we'll get some goodness out of this walkthrough.
Cool.
So what you are seeing me at now when entering the session is before entering a session on SquadCast, everyone starts off in the green room. So the green room is just a good place to make sure everything's working out right, that you have the correct equipment selected, that everything looks right. You got your hair good, as well as you can also do some test recordings just to build confidence before going into the session that everything's going to look and sound as expected. And if things don't look right, you can easily change it from here. So maybe I definitely would not want my AirPods as my microphone. So I will use the Vocaster. That's the audio interface that I use that's being plugged into my ATR 2100 microphone. You can also select whatever camera you want, and also the resolution. So I think I saw a question in there that you can record in 4K on SquadCast. It is a setting that you need to select, so I don't have that setting selected now. You also do need a 4K camera. I know that may sound obvious, but not everyone realizes that you need a 4K camera to get the
Right.
4K video quality. So that's another thing to call out. And so, yeah, we do have it set as a default to 720, just because most folks are using built-in cameras like on their laptops, which is up to 720.
Yep.
But you can record in 1080 and up to 4K as well. 4K is a recent addition.
Cool.
Also, you can see like who's in the session. So that's me as a guest in there. And the guest who doesn't need to have an account to SquadCast, all they need to do is click a link. They they can join, and we'll see a similar experience as the green room. So now I'm going
Ru-
to enter this session. Go
Oh,
ahead.
can I throw a question at you?
Yes.
I saw this in Discord a couple times where folks were like, "Do I pay when a guest joins my SquadCast? Do I have to pay for guests?" And the answer to that is no, right?
Definitely not. Yeah, I should have been more clear about that. So,
You're good.
all guests need to do is get a link that you provide them, so you can provide that link directly by like copying it and pasting to wherever you want to send the link to for
Mhm.
that individual. You can also, when creating a session on SquadCast, invite folks via email. It comes with a nice email that has some best practices on how to record remotely and specifically using SquadCast, in addition to information on the recording session, stuff like the time, who it's with. Yeah, just to make it
Awesome.
clear and understood of what's going on for that session.
Perfect. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for stopping me. All right, I will jump in this session. Okay, do I have that one? I just want to make sure everything's muted. Okay, cool. All right, so the dark mode version is me as the SquadCast account owner / host of this session.
Mhm.
And as the host, I have a lot more control. So for instance, I can start or stop the recording. And then there's a few more panels here that you do not see as the guest. And really what we wanted for the guest that's here in light mode is really just to show up and talk or whatever else they got to do that's kind of expected, but really
Right.
have minimal controls or less opportunity to mess things up, for lack of a better word, or just
Mhm.
not be distracted by stuff. So all of those controls really live with the host or the show manager role on SquadCast. And let me start a recording just so we can see it in action. But yeah, this is the session. This is where all the recording magic happens. Again, if you do need to switch your settings, you can easily do that by clicking this settings button. That'll open up the settings panel. And a lot of those controls that you saw in the green room are available there. So no worries if you need to make some adjustments.
Cool.
So I'm going to start a recording now. All right. So now the big red recording button with a ticker will start. As you can see here, the app is not focused. That is what I was talking about a little bit earlier, where the focus tab is not selected for my guest, and that's because I'm having the focus tab as the host, but it's also picking up that the guest is not focused. So the app does a good job of trying to show folks or to communicate what's going on and what to expect or what needs to be done differently to have a better experience.
Totally.
So within the 15 seconds of the recording, you might have seen that pop-up select where it's another way to preview a recording. Now, while as a host, you can absolutely listen to this preview recording. It's really a feature that we think is best used for like a producer or show manager who's not necessarily the one talking, but
Mhm.
is kind of monitoring and managing the session. So this is a great way to again, preview a recording without having to disrupt the recording in progress. So just another way of building confidence and eliminating surprises whenever you do hit the stop button and listen to those or watch those final recordings. Because there's nothing worse than having a great hour-long conversation or whatever, and then you go and listen to those files and someone had the wrong microphone selected or camera selected or whatever. And there's a few other
Right.
ways that you can check that, which I'll go over here in a second. But this is one way that we try to give people the the insight and what to expect in those final recordings. So whenever you are actively recording on SquadCast, the recordings panel to the lower right will start showing your recording files. Now, because I'm recording in audio and video, you see both files here for both participants. And again, you can preview those while still recording. So I can listen to the audio, I can watch the video. The audio is muxed in with the video, so you don't have to like do any editing to combine that. But yeah, it's a great way to just, again, build confidence and assurance that this is going to be what you expect. Once I stop this, you'll start to see some upload bars. So I'll come back to this when we stop, just so you can see how the upload process works. But another one of the panels I would like to show you is we also have a chat feature. So if anything needs to be communicated, but don't want to be spoken over, if you're recording or whatever reason, there's multiple ways to communicate here. But really what I wanted to show you is the participants panel. So this is where you can get information, not just on like the equipment that you're using, but more importantly, what your guest is using. So this is not going to be as exciting because it's my same setup as you see here for my my host area. But for the guest, if pretend that we're working with somebody else who has a completely different setup, and I can actually manually change these settings for them. So that's a huge benefit for folks to, especially if you're a guest who's not the most savvy when it
Tech
comes to
savvy.
tech
Yeah.
savvy, or especially recording remotely. Although I think it is becoming more common, it's still something that is relatively new to folks. So
Yep.
being able to help them guide them through and not just like tell them, because we've always had the ability to show you what type of settings you have selected, but now you can actually remotely change it for them, which is an awesome feature and one of those things that folks have been extremely excited about. So happy to have that provided. And I think it's just good to know, like, just have this information. And again, it's all about building up confidence.
Totally.
I think that is the main stuff here. There is a backstage area as well. So the backstage is more so if you have participants that want to or need to be in on a recording session, but don't need to be on mic or on camera, do not need those recording files
Like a
generated.
producer or something
Exactly.
like that. Yep.
So for the production team, the use case is generally a producer or manager who kind of just wants to watch, monitor.
Oversee. Yeah.
But also the oftentimes if you're like interviewing a guest who's at a certain status or is high profile, oftentimes they will have participants that want to join them as well. And you definitely don't want those people in on the recording session because we've heard stories that they tend to be the most disruptive. And we've heard stories
Right.
of like attorneys
I was going to say
eating a bowl of cereal or something and making all the noise.
right.
So this is a good way for them to join, and you can easily pull people on stage or put them backstage as well. And it's a very similar experience. You just provide them a link and they don't have to have an account. They can just pop in and be a observer of the recording session. So
Cool.
just wanted to make sure I would cover that, but there's no one in there right now. If there was, you would see something similar as what we see up here on the onstage show participants. You wouldn't see all of their settings and equipment and stuff like that, but you would still see them and
Cool.
have some buttons. All right.
Awesome.
So now I'll show us what the recording looks like when you stop. Because again, this is one of the magic parts. All right. So both files are already uploaded, audio and video. It just happened like that. Now I know this is a shorter
great.
recording, but they are still, even a short recording contains some pretty big files. Looks like my video file is still uploading. Well, it almost went too fast because I wanted to show that it communicates the progress, but I guess that's a good problem to have. But for
Right.
any of you that had a quick eye there, the app was communicating how much percentage progress of the
Right.
upload was left. But yeah, that happened so fast. And then all you have to do is click this edit in Descript button and we'll send those files right over to your drive that you have linked up in Descript.
Easy as that.
I like to think so.
That's awesome. Cool. Well,
Anything else that I should cover?
I think you You really hit it. I always think that squad shots are pretty fun. So maybe you could just
Oh, wow.
talk
How did I
about
forget that?
that.
Yes. So Squad Chat is a fun feature that we added to just help share the whenever you're done with the session. There's a lot of good vibes going on, and so this is a great way to capture that. So all you do is click this button for a squad shot. A timer will show you here, and it's basically just going to take a screenshot for you. And what you can do is share this on your social media platforms or wherever. It's a great way to maybe preview or hype up what you got coming. And yeah, so a real good way to just share the excitement that's going on when recording
Totally.
on SquadCast. I do see a question, and thank you, Marcelo, for calling this out about can you use SquadCast to do webinars instead of Zoom?
Right.
That this is where the backstage feature, right here, excuse me, the backstage feature, it's kind of live streamy. The only difference is that the backstage feature has a limited amount of viewer participants that are currently allowed.
Mhm.
So it's not a pure substitute for a live streaming platform like Crowdcast or Facebook Live, or if that even still exists, or going live streaming on YouTube and stuff like that. So
Right.
right now, it is the best use case is when you are recording content remotely with multiple people. But if you had if you wanted to provide a more intimate experience, or make it limited supply of tickets, if you will, you would be capped at 10 participants. So there's definitely use cases where we see folks using it that way. But if you're generally, when folks are live streaming, you want to cast the widest net possible. And therefore I would recommend something like YouTube for that, or Zoom.
Totally. Awesome. Cool. Well, we've got some questions here. We could just jump into Q&A if that works for you.
All right. Should I leave the share screen up just in case?
Maybe just in case, but I can just toggle it off and on for you.
Oh yeah. Forget
So
all these features. Cool.
there we go.
Wow.
Cool. Okay, sweet. Okay, so AJ just asked this about the squad shot. Did the squad shot not grab the participant that doesn't have a camera on?
I should have done that. Sorry. That
No,
Yeah,
all
you're
good.
right. If the camera's off, it won't grab it. I didn't think about that. Great catch, AJ. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
good stuff.
If for the proper example, it would have both of those in one combined file.
Perfect. Cool. But it totally makes sense that if your camera's off, you're not in the screenshot. So tell people picture time. That's awesome. Cool. Here is a question. Can you pause the recording session?
So you can stop a recording that's in progress, but yeah, you can't necessarily pause. So whenever you do hit stop, it will upload those files, complete the upload of those files. Because what's happening when you're recording is the upload is happening concurrently with the recording in progress. So that's really what makes it so fast and secure. So hitting stop will complete the upload process,
Cool.
generate those recording files to you, and group those files in a take. So that doesn't sound like a pause to me.
Totally. That makes sense. Cool. From Wisconsin C. Grant, with the share screen function, can you share computer audio? I like to play clips for the hosts.
Yes. We might have changed this, but I don't think that it includes the audio, but I could be wrong. So I'll need to double check. That is something I should know. I use the screen share feature a lot. It's just never for that use case. There's never any audio in there, unfortunately.
Cool.
Marcelo's saying pretty sure it does. So forgive me. I think that was like a recent addition.
Totally. We will double check on that for you.
Because it is commonly
Wisconsin.
requested. So
Right. Cool. Yeah. Marcelo said that they're on it. So we will know shortly. So we showed this with that button. How do you transfer to Descript for editing? So we showed how to throw your files over there, but then would you just leave the app and go over into Descript, or how does that work?
yeah, so what I would do is I would hit this edit in Descript button and starting the export process in Descript. And since I already have my drive linked up here, this is where, all right. Let's see if this works. Ah, 1Password. I love
Everyone
you.
close your eyes. Don't give Rock privacy when he puts his passwords in.
We're doing it live. Boom.
Cool.
So both my files have been imported from SquadCast with
Nice.
the names. And that's another thing I should say, that is that the name that you have in the session is how the files are named for SquadCast. So that's why you see Rock and /guest, because
Cool.
that was the name of the participants in that session. And also I could select which drive I want to go to. I definitely don't want to go to the podcast movement drive. So I want to go to my own drive and select that location. And yeah, we're good to go.
Love it.
And yep, now it's importing.
Awesome. And it'll import and transcribe that for you. And then you can edit away.
I'm not gonna lie, my knees were shaking under the surface here, because when we tried this last time, it did not work this smoothly. And
You were seeming cool as a cucumber, Rock. So
well done.
good for you.
I'm feeling good.
That's awesome. Cool.
So I think we answered the question, right?
Yep, you nailed it.
Okay.
Crushed it. Okay, I'll turn this off again. So we're big screen, but I will bring it up if we need. Joyce asked, can you discuss the correct audio settings for me as the host and my remote guest? I produce audio podcasts and have connection issues. Sometimes we can't hear each other. Do you have any recommendations, or is that like too user specific?
It is a little bit. I could give some general best practices, but
Yeah.
I mean, it really depends on the devices you're using. So if you're using like an audio interface like I am, there's some settings to configure there, as well as your microphone. And different people's voices are going to sound differently with different devices and different settings accordingly. So it is
Right.
one of those things that it's hard to uh, give exact general feedback in the way that I think this person, Joyce, thank you for your question, is asking.
Right.
But it sounds like for your situation, since you produce audio podcasts, if you don't have any need, or you can live without recording the video recordings, I would schedule your recording sessions to be audio only. That's a good way to kind of navigate connection issues. There's
Right.
also a few more features that we offer. So the first one is you can turn off your camera. That'll help if you're having some bandwidth issues.
Mhm.
If you are going to record in video, there's another feature we offer, because if you want the video recording, then unfortunately you can't turn the camera off. But we do give you is a feature where you can turn incoming videos off. And the benefit of that is, while you're not going to be able to see the other person in real time, it's going to look like they have their camera turned off. It's still recording the video for you. So you kind of have,
Cool.
I don't know about the best of both worlds, but it's just different ways to navigate these tough situations.
Awesome. Cool. And on top of that, I will just again plug our Discord community. You can like ask around and see what other folks do, describe your situation in detail, and either other creators or our team will jump in and try to give you some specific advice too. But yeah, Rock, those were great. Best practices. Okay, next question is from John. So what if the editing is done with something other than Descript? That's why I asked about MP3. What do you do in that case?
Yeah, so it won't be as seamless of an experience. So what you'll want to do is either download your recording files, which you can download them in WAV or MP3 format if you're with audio. For video, it's MP4 format. The WAV audio, again, is muxed in there, but you can also download them in WebM format if for whatever reason you want that. The audio will not be in on those WebM formats. So not sure like if what the use case necessarily is those for, but it's just something that we'd like to give people options.
Cool.
But yes, SquadCast plays nicely with all editing software as much as we'd love for you to use Descript.
Mhm.
It's just going to be a little bit more steps. If you don't want to download those files, for instance, because you're going to share them with somebody, like you have an editor, the best way would be to copy file links. It's very similar to copying a session link from SquadCast,
Mhm.
and you send those file links to whoever needs to download them. And instead of you having to download and figure out how to send these big files, you can have them download those files on their end.
That is very handy. I did not know that was a thing. Yeah.
Hey, let's
Figuring
go.
out how to send a big file is like something that's haunted me for like so long.
It's
So
crazy.
it's
Yeah, it's crazy how we think we've come so far, but it's like some of these things, and it totally takes you out of flow and can. There's a lot of opportunities for
100%.
stuff to go wrong, right? Like the upload
Yes.
fails or whatever. It's
Totally. Or just like then the quality gets bad because you have to compress it to send it over. So
yeah,
that is awesome that's a feature. Um, cool. Okay, this is from Casual FC. Shout out Casual FC is a member of our Discord community.
nice.
Why can't we select audio only when starting a new session? It's only available from scheduled ones.
Hmm. That should not be the case. So we might have
Okay.
to look into that. That does sound like a bug, but yeah, let me just leave
Yeah,
my session here. Let me close this. Do you mind throwing up the or
I
I guess I
got
can
it.
do it.
There you go.
Yeah. So you can do that in your show settings here, where there's actually quite a bit of settings that you can change in SquadCast.
Yeah.
Change what type of conference you have. This is where you can enable 4K, as long as well as some other stuff. Um, and then where is it? Oh no, excuse me. This is a session. So when scheduling a new session, you can start a session now if you just want to jump in there and start recording or whatever, or you can schedule one in advance. Generally, we see people are scheduling, so you can title the show and set the time, the date, invite your participants here, and then right down here, the recording format area is where you can select audio and video or audio only. Um, so this is a new session. So as you can see, you should see this whenever you create a new session, and yeah, should not have to create a session and then edit it for it to change the format. So
Cool.
apologies that you went into that, but that's something we'll need to look into.
Totally. Yes. And yeah, we will look into that, but also feel free to reach out to our support team at support.squadcast.fm.
Oh, you know
Um,
what? I think I just saw in the chat. I think they're saying when you start a session now, it doesn't give you the choice. That is true. That
okay.
maybe might be a hole in our game. So good to point that out. But it
Heard.
it probably does default then to so you would have to switch it on the back end in that example. So yeah, I appreciate you bringing that to our attention because that's a good point.
Got it. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Got it. So that is a good feature request. And I'm going to throw that link in the chat. That's our feedback board. You can put an upvote, you can enter new feature requests and upvote other ones. And yeah, jump in there and throw that in there. Okay, awesome. Well, we're just about at time here. Rock, if you could give a piece of advice to someone starting out with remote recording with their podcast or their videos, like what if it was a resource or something, where a place to start, what would you tell folks?
I would tell folks to a little bit of time. You don't need a lot, but you do
Yeah.
need some time to like test it out, get familiar with the platform. We like to think that a lot of things are relatively straightforward, but when you're doing it for the first time and it's like a real live session, generally that's where trouble can happen.
Totally.
And the worst thing is trying to figure something out when you have a guest who has dedicated their time, and oftentimes that's all you're going to get, so it needs to work out. And
Yeah.
as much as I would love to just jump in there and have everything work out, spending a little bit of time learning the ins and outs of the platform, and there's a lot of documentation on it, and there's not a whole lot going on, like, to be honest. I mean, a lot of this stuff, a lot of the magic is really happening underneath the hood.
Mhm.
But still it takes a little bit of a little bit of time to just familiarize yourself with the layout and where all the buttons are, what they do, stuff like that. So I think it really goes far to just giving that extra time up
I love
front.
that.
I see
Yeah.
Marcelo's asking us to put some QR codes and stuff up. It looks like we
Yeah.
have the Descript one up in my
Just
upper left.
Yep, that is up there, folks. So yes, just gonna plug again. Join our Discord community. Getting close to 20K creators in there, which is just awesome. People asking each other Descript and SquadCast questions, sharing workflows. Every Wednesday, we do this thing where we share something we've made with Descript, which is just so fun for inspo. So definitely join us there. I also threw the link in the chat there. And I also just want to plug a couple other things. So once again, if you need help with Descript, help.descript.com is your best friend. You'll also find on that site where to submit a ticket and get in touch with our support team. So you can chat with amazing people like Marcelo, who's been holding it down in the chat today. Marcelo, thank you for being awesome as usual. And speaking of Marcelo, Marcelo does weekly office hours in the Discord. Support office hours with Marcelo at 1 p.m. PT. That's 4 p.m. ET every Wednesday. Tomorrow, they're happening. So join us there. Discord.gg/Descript. And then I mentioned this earlier, but we also do remote recording office hours. All of this information can be found in Discord. So definitely jump in there to keep in touch with us. There we go. But yeah, Rock, thank you so much for such a fantastic demo. I feel like I learned a ton, honestly.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty cool. I'm
Yeah.
super grateful. And this was so fun. I mean, I was really excited to be tag teaming this with you. And
Yes.
man, it happened better than expected. I can't believe an hour flew by already. I still can go. So
I
that's a good
know,
sign.
right? Yeah, this it flew by, and thank you to everybody in the chat, just for being 15 hours passed already. My, how time flies. Exactly. Um, Someone said that in the chat. But yeah, this was a blast. Thank you everybody for being here. Thanks for jumping over to YouTube when Crowdcast was having some issues. We appreciate your patience. We do live events just about every week, so keep coming back for more. Keep learning with us, and thanks for being in our orbit. And we'll see you next time. Rock, thanks again.
Thank you, Christiana. Bye, everyone. Really appreciate you
Bye.
spending time with us.